Hi, Jeremy.
I think that was Pat. Hi, Pat.
Yeah, it's Pat with a very bad sounding voice.
I could hear that.
Hmm.
Sounds thin.
Huh. My second week
Oh,
with this upper respiratory nonsense.
I'm sorry
Hey,
to
good
hear
evening,
that.
everyone.
Shit
Hey,
happens.
Sam. I'm going to start the
Hi.
webinar now, and we
All
should
right,
see
I'm
guests
going
start to
mute.
join us.
Okay, I'm back.
How's it looking, Jeremy? I think we're good.
I think you have a good turnout. I think our first presenters here, several folks from our first presenter are here.
Okay, so
So,
let's start.
okay. Oh, Cynthia, for some reason, Zoom doesn't like me webcasting from home. So I'm
Okay, no
recording
worries.
it and we'll just post it to YouTube in the morning.
Not a problem. Understood. Is FDNY NYPD here? Not yet, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so we'll go with the business at hand and move accordingly.
There is somebody with a hand up. Perhaps they're from FDNY. They
Okay.
put their hand down. Okay. Maybe they're using the chat function.
Oh, I am Ralph. Ralph is from and he's a participant attendee.
Oh, okay.
So we'll promote him to a panelist.
Okay. I'll do that right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Ralph. We're going to promote you to panelist.
And he should be rejoining us.
There he is. Okay, let's start. Thank you everyone for adjusting and coming on to a Zoom only meeting. We were certainly looking forward to seeing everyone, but it's supposed to be an extremely cold day, and for everybody's safety and well-being, we decided to move it over to Zoom. Also because over the weekend, as you know, Community Board 7 necessarily didn't heat up as much as we would like it, so it's not exactly very warm and toasty in the conference room. So we're going to start as always with roll call. Jeremy?
Thank you. When I call your name, please unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. Let's start with Cynthia Jeffers.
Present.
Thank you. Jerry Chan.
President.
Thank you. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Kin Fung. Hector Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. Talisha Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. Roberto Martinez. Cam Ramos.
Here.
Thank you. Pat Ruiz.
Here.
Thank you. Sam Sierra.
Here.
Thank you. Kalina Sorma.
Present.
Thank you. Ji Ming Wu. Good turnout, Cynthia, but nobody's in the room, so no quorum.
Yep. So as you all know, because we don't have a quorum, we cannot officially vote, but we will vote next week at the December general board meeting, which will be on the 17th. Correct, Jerry? Yep. Jeremy? Yep, it'll be on December 17th. But we want to thank Mansión Isabella for joining us today, and we're going to hear from them. They have put in for a liquor license at the Brooklyn Army Terminal, which is located in 5714 through 5726 on First Avenue. and they have proposed quite a large scale venue. So we're just going to have them introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their plans. Then we'll open it up for some questions and comments from the board, and then any community members that are on. So Isabella and Michael,
How are you? Yes,
how are you both?
I'm
Nice to meet
good.
you both.
I am
I don't
Mike.
know who's going to go first.
I'll start, and Isabel will do most of the talking. But I'm Michael Ferrari. I'm an attorney. I represent Maison Isabella LLC, which is applying, as you say, for a liquor license at 5714 First Avenue. Her intended business, Isabella, is the principal of Maison Isabella. Her intended business is a catering establishment at this location on the third floor. It is a very bare space, so it needs some work right now, although not a great deal. It will be. She can go into the details. I have photographs, which I sent just recently to Natasha and to Jeremy Laufer. I don't know if I can share those. I'm not sure how best to do this. How do you normally do it on a
Can you
Zoom?
share your screen?
I can give him permission to share his screen. Just give
Yeah,
me
that'd
one
be
moment.
great.
Okay, why don't I do that? Well, I'll let Isabel begin
You should
speaking,
be
and
able
then
to share your screen now.
once I do, I'll once Isabel starts speaking, I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Is that going to
Yeah,
work?
that's perfect. Yeah.
I haven't arranged the screen yet, but so she's going to talk about her intended business at this location, and her a little bit about her background, a little bit about her family's background in Brooklyn. She was raised in Brooklyn, and now she's here to open her business. And if you're ready, Isabel, you can go ahead and talk, and I'll open up the photographs so they can take a look and the diagrams as well.
Great. Thank you, Michael, for introducing me. Thank you, everyone, for having me. My name's Isabel Gibb, and I am launching a banquet/catering hall named Maison Isabella's on First Avenue and 58th Street. I'm hoping to hold events anywhere from bat and bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, weddings, corporate events, baby showers. I did my undergrad in business at Fairfield University and took many courses in hospitality. After Fairfield, I went to NYU and I received my master's in accounting. While at NYU, I passed my CPA exams, so I am a certified public accountant. After NYU, I received a job at Deloitte as a CPA tax accountant. After 2 years at Deloitte, I really decided that I don't think I want to spend my life in accounting. So I decided to pivot to the hospitality industry. I don't necessarily have a lot of direct experience in the hospitality industry. I waited tables in college, which is not remotely the same, of course. However, I will be hiring a manager that will help me on my day-to-day business.
Let me see. I'm almost
Are
there.
you from Brooklyn, Isabella?
Yes, I grew up in Bay Ridge.
Okay, do you still live in Brooklyn?
I live between Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Okay, so you
Yes.
were raised in Bay Ridge. Okay.
Yes, and my parents still live in Bay Ridge, so I've been in the community for years.
Okay.
So Isabella, the building you're
Yes.
referring to, right? Is it the one across from the I don't know whose the shop is that? GMC? Is that gray building you're referring to?
Yes. It is across the street from the Brooklyn Army Terminal. It is not part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the entrance going towards Brooklyn Army Terminal.
So there's two entrances. The entrances to my space will be on a private side alley on 58th Street.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're able to see. I've put up
Yeah, we can see them.
okay. Um, So, as Isabel indicated, it's the building's on First Avenue and the corner of 58th Street, but the entrance, the alley entrance, Isabel, is a little bit to the north of 58th Street, not quite at 57th, right? I think.
Correct. Off of First
And
Avenue.
there's not the entrance is there, but there's an alley there where there's parking for, I think you said 100 vehicles. Is that right?
Correct. Around 100 vehicles.
And so you would expect that even at the more the heavier populated events, the parking will be primarily in those spaces.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
100%.
Where's this parking at? I didn't catch that. Thank you.
So we have a private alleyway between two buildings. So all parking will be on the private alleyway. So we won't have to touch any street parking off of First Avenue and the surrounding streets.
So the alleyway that you mentioned, right, also share with the building right next door. So are you talking about the parking only on your side of the building or both sides of the building? Because I think there's another business on the other side.
Just our side.
So how many parking space, including
There's
the back, right, is total
At
space?
100.
There's also parking towards the front of the building, so it will be along towards the water. So along our side on the building and towards the water.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, continue, Michael. Sorry.
So Isabel was going to talk a little bit about, she'll talk about whatever it is you have questions, of course, but
Why don't you tell
you
us a
can talk
little
about
bit?
security for the events, the sorts of events that she anticipates having.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Mrs. Jeffers.
No, not a problem. And Cynthia is fine.
Cynthia.
Yeah, Cynthia's fine, Michael. Thank you for the asking. So, just really quick, Isabel, what is the capacity? Like, what are going to be your hours? I know you're mostly going to have it for venues. I did see that you said third-party promoters. That was the primary reason we wanted to speak to you because, as you know, Brooklyn Army Terminal has events that take place through a lot of third-party promoters. So we wanted to make sure, like, if there's something happening in your space, let's say, and I don't know what you meant by third party, that's why I wanted to have you here. Third party promoters, if there's going to be something, let's say, happening at Brooklyn Army Terminal, let's say as you know, or we may not know this, it does have docking for party boats that have been problematic in the past, right? So if you have that, or if you have an event that's being hosted by EDC, such as a cultural celebration, then we have your event taking place. So I was a little bit curious about the capacity of the location. What were your proposed hours to rent it? And it's only going to be exclusively a rental venue space. So it won't be open probably not every day. So those types of questions, if you could answer that, that would be great. Like your business plan.
Yeah, of course. So our space is around 6,000 square feet. I'm still working with my architect that I've hired to know what my set number of guests are. But with our preliminary studies and my architect, it is about 360 people. That is standing. So with tables and chairs, our maximum number will be 220.
And we had talked a little bit earlier, Isabel, you and I, about the frequency of events. What do you anticipate in that first year about when they would be, and then also what types of events you would anticipate mostly?
Right. So because of the nature of my events, I'm thinking that I won't have many bookings from Monday to Wednesdays, potentially Thursdays, but mostly it will be Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And as I had said quickly prior, a lot of my events will be birthday parties, which could be sweet 16s, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, weddings, corporate events, which tend to be on the calmer side. I'm not opening up a nightclub or a bar.
Is there ADA accessibility?
Yes.
So it's fully accessible.
Yes.
There's an elevator to the third floor, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Cynthia, you'd asked about third-party promoters.
Yes, promoters.
I know that, I do a lot of this work throughout the city, so I know that is often a red flag.
Yeah.
We indicated that really just to allow for that possibility if it could be defined that way, but it's not going to be her primary business. As she says, if somebody is giving their child a bar, bat mitzvah, or a quinceañera, those are the people that will generally be calling her and making the arrangements rather than a third party.
Thank you. I
Right.
also noticed there was a rooftop. So I know you're on the third floor. So are you the last floor? Then are you going to use the rooftop, or did you mean like an outside area? Like we have a location. I'm thinking you're going to do something similar to like what Soccer Roof does, which is on the Whale Building on 52nd
Right.
and First. So they have it, it's the same floor and they call it the rooftop because it's the last floor, but there's not a separate floor. It's just part of the space. Is this laid out the same way? Because I'm looking and I see banquet hall, then I see it outside seating deck. So is it more like on that floor that has the outside, or will you actually be going one more floor up if we wanted to use the rooftop?
Right. No, you are exactly correct. It is on the same floor. So you walk out 2 doors onto a deck porch.
And
Okay.
if
And
I
did that capacity include the deck porch that you said? Or is that exclusive of the deck porch, the outside seating?
It includes it.
It includes it. Okay. So 360 and 220 set up, including the outside seating deck.
Yes, correct.
and Isabel, I think you can see the photograph that I put up.
Yes.
Is that those double glass doors? Did that get you onto where the deck will be? Is that the roof?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That is exactly correct.
Okay, so I have a question. In terms of any communication, let's say with EDC or people that do events at Brooklyn Army Terminal, I think that would be one of the things we would like to see some coordination. I know that people who do multiple events at EDC through EDC, they coordinate. So let's say there's a cultural festival happening for Cinco de Mayo, as an example. I know that they try to coordinate with EDC so that there's not a party boat there that same day because
Right.
the volume of people. So have you made contact with anyone at EDC or at Brooklyn Army Terminal to make sure that there's some kind of coordination? And I know it may be hard to do it since you don't have any event yet planned, but is that something that you would be open to doing and something that you would be committed to doing?
Yes, of course. And it's definitely on my radar. But since I don't have a set time of opening yet, I have not started communication with them. But it is definitely something that I'm open to.
Okay, so what is your timeline? I know you're here with us today. I know you said you're still speaking to an architect. What is your timeline in terms of opening? What is your proposed opening date?
Yeah. So I don't have a set date yet, but I'm hoping that it will be about 6 months from now, end of May, beginning of June.
So sometime in the spring, late spring, early summer of 26.
Yes.
Fair
And
enough?
and part of that is dependent on the liquor license and more importantly the temporary permit. So we'll submit the application, and ideally we'd get a temporary permit around the time that the work is being completed, sometime in the spring into the summer.
And in terms of the hours of operation, I know you said mostly Thursday through Sunday, with some daytime events happening for corporate events. Let's say, NYU is there. They may want to do a corporate retreat that's in the daytime. How about nighttime? What is your proposed latest event that you would do?
So we were hoping for a 4 a.m. license, and
Okay.
the reality is that most of these parties, weddings and bar mitzvahs, et cetera, will end and at 11 o'clock or midnight on a Friday or Saturday. But we would like to at least have the flexibility when and if a later party comes around, that we would have an opportunity to do it. That's Isabel's thinking right now.
Okay.
Yes.
And in terms of security,
Yes. So I will be hiring a third-party security company per event.
Are
okay.
those security firms certified? When I say certified, it's the same one that the you've been to corporate for such a long time, the corporation hire.
Yes.
Certified through the Department of State, the New York State Department of State. Is that what you mean? The
No, she answered already. She know
Oh,
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
excuse me.
Yes, and I will work directly with the companies depending on my event size and the type of event for the number of security that I will need inside, at my entrance, on street corners if necessary.
I think we
Whatever.
have two hands up from board members, so I'm going to first call on Kalina, and then Sam Sierra put a question in the chat. So Kalina and then Sam.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm not familiar with the area, so I'm not sure how many residential spaces are nearby, but is there a plan to limit noise?
Yes. So, first, our closest residential is about 4 blocks away. We are surrounded by industrial warehouses. And second, our space is facing the bay on the 3rd floor, so it really limits noise carrying to the street.
And I think she had mentioned the security. Security can assist in that regard in the outdoor areas, right? So if they're leaving at, 11 o'clock midnight, they're walking out the door, walking to their cars, the expectation is that they'll keep the voices down, even though if you look at that block from First to 58th to 57th, there are no residential on that block. You have to head up 57th or 58th to reach some residential.
Up to 3rd Ave, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
You're true about that, but there is a hospital.
Right
Yeah,
is it on
yeah, there's a
second?
hospital, and then the patient, room is
Right.
actually facing the water too.
Okay, Sam and then Pat.
Hi, good evening, and thanks for presenting to us this evening. My concern is related to the security, and yes, we understand that we have these businesses like this open up, and we ask these similar questions pertaining to the security aspect. Because yes, as Michael stated, there are no residents there, there are no apartments there, but the folks who are leaving the venue have to drive through our community. And that's always a concern to that point. But to my question, I wanted to have a better understanding as to the security aspect internally and externally, specifically when the business, so to speak, is winding down for the evening. That's always a concern. Folks linger. It's just very problematic, and I really need us to understand that that's a major concern for us. These folks, after a night of partying, do also drive through our community. I just want to hammer that point home, and thank you for your time.
I think that's an important question. I just want to say a few things, and Isabel can speak as well. We've talked about just that issue, is that it's not just what goes on in the 4 walls. People leave, and that's, as you say, that's when you have problems, because that's when people are going through your community. Either they're making noise right outside, or they're driving through your community. Absolutely. And so the better places, the better operators rely heavily on their security to instruct people as they're leaving to respect the people that live there, that they're not serving, they're not over serving people, that there are, encouraging designated drivers and the like. But Isabel can talk about her strategies in that regard. Maybe the types of parties she can talk about would be also indicative of her plans to limit these problems.
Right. So, as I had been speaking to 2 security companies that do work in the area, work at other catering and banquet halls in the 5 boroughs. And I think I would work very closely with them to make sure that we always have the correct number of security personnels for each event. And that's not just including inside of the space. That also includes downstairs, by parking, by valet, on street corners, to make sure that people aren't creating noise and issues on the surrounding blocks.
And also just to give you a little more comfort, I think the Isabel is a child of Brooklyn. She's a child of business owners in Brooklyn, real estate business owners, and so they're the owners of this building. So she's going to be a tenant of her family. That's, I think, important for you to know because it indicates the support that she'll have, but also the expectation that she will take these issues seriously. A landlord doesn't want these problems, and her father doesn't want these problems. So I think that's important for the committee to understand.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank
Pat,
you.
Sam, are you good?
Well, I wanted to mention that at some point we'd like to see a security plan. It's nice to have the dialogue as to um, how we're going to address, but we like to see a plan. And a plan, it should matter that at this point we don't know how many folks we can host at the venue at a time. Uh, we should still have a clear-cut security plan, and we'd like to at some point see one. And thank you once again.
Thank you, Sam. That's a great point. Pat?
Hi, Isabella. Thank you so much for the presentation. I do have a question in related to security, and I understand you're going to work with security companies. My concern is closed circuit TV security in your alleyway, in your venue space, in the outdoor. Is that something that you're going to consider?
Yes, great question. We definitely will.
And if that you could put that in your plan, that I hope you will provide to the community board, that'd be most appreciated. Thank you all, and I apologize for the music in the background. I'm relaxing at the moment. Thank you.
Um,
I have a quick follow-up question to that. How do people enter the building?
Yes, so our
It's
entrance,
the third floor. Is there security on the first floor? And what's on the first and second floor?
so our entrance is on a private alleyway that is only
Uh-huh.
us and one other building. So all traffic that comes in, parking, etc., is coming through a private street. Yes, we were on the third floor, so there will be security around to make sure that no one's going to any other space except our own.
So walk me through. I go to your venue. I want to go in. I'm going in through the First Avenue. Can you put that back, Michael? I'm sorry.
I'm trying to find the best
No,
photograph.
it's the gray building, right? You're the gray
Yes.
building on First Avenue. I know your building exactly. So I'm walking into your building, right? And I'm walking through the door. Is there going to be secure? Like, how do I open the door? Is the door just, I could just pull it open? Is it a buzzer system to enter the door currently? And once I do enter and I need to go to a party there, is there security there to say, hey, Cynthia, it's on the third floor?
Yes. So there will be security at the front entrance to help usher everybody in and out of the building.
Okay.
And then when you walk through the stairs, there will be an elevator and there will be security there to help lead everyone to the space.
Okay.
Uh,
And you said there was one other business right now currently in the location?
It's a big building, so there's many businesses
Okay. So
operating, but
there's buildings operating on the first and second floor.
yes,
Different businesses that are just daytime businesses, I'm assuming.
just daytime and they use a separate entrance.
Okay, so your entrance will be exclusive to the venue.
Correct.
And will your elevator stop on those other two floors? I know there's sometimes people have an elevator that just goes to your floor.
Um,
I'm just curious.
it can stop at others, but during events, it will not.
Okay, perfect. So it'll be set just to go straight to the third floor.
Correct.
What
Just-
about visible signage on the outside of the building?
Yes, so we're still building out our entrance, but there will be a visible sign facing First Avenue.
So I don't know if you can see, I put up a photograph
Mhm.
which you can see the river off in the distance or the bay off in the distance. But that, Isabel, the entrance will be, you'll enter here, correct? And then on the left in this photograph, there will be the actual entrance to the building.
Yes, correct. So you'll enter about 3/4 down this alleyway to the left,
And it
correct?
hasn't been constructed yet, but it's
How is the lighting there? Is there lights there? Because I know there's no city lights there. So I'm
There's
thinking
motion lights all
so I'm
across
thinking
the
now,
alley.
so now I'm thinking, it's dark at 4:30 in the winter. It's always a concern with people. First Avenue, it's not necessarily the brightest corridor that we have, and certainly it's one of the least used corridors that we have. So it has motion lighting, but is it super bright? Is it, will that be worked on too? Will there be additional lighting put in?
Yes, so currently we have motion sensor lights,
Mm-hmm.
but part of our construction plan will be to add more lighting.
Okay. So lighting and signage.
Yes.
You got a lot of work, girl, in 6 months.
I want to bring a concern too on the street. I think at nighttime, like you mentioned 4 a.m. I know NYU do have security sometimes walk the nurses and the doctor to their car on First Avenue. Sometimes they do have kids racing the cars on First Avenue. If you have events that late, right, how you preventing your customer not getting hit or anything? Are you gonna work with the local precinct? Are you gonna work with local precincts to let them know that you have events?
so
Right.
we talked about just these sorts of issues, and one of the things that I've recommended is that she puts herself out there in the community. So meaning rely on the community board, rely on the local precinct, all of the local groups, right? And so that's part of it. But I'll let you continue, Isabel, and you can talk about what else you can do.
Right. And just to emphasize again, I'm really not expecting to have many events till 4 a.m., if any. And my security will also be surrounding the area, not just at my entrance. So on the corner of the building and First Avenue to make sure that when people are leaving the venue, it's very secure. And for all my later events, I will inform the police so that everyone's in accordance.
All right, thank you. Cynthia, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. Are there any questions from the board, Talisha?
Hi, yeah, thank you so much again for your presentation. So I did events coordination for quite a while, and one of the big issues with catering is um, when a business doesn't have in-house catering, and that contributes to over-serving and levels of inebriation that we really don't want to see. So can you please walk us through your catering plan and the vendors? Are you planning to have a static kitchen? Um, and what that would look like in terms of contracting the alcohol services, as well as your packages. So are you planning to offer open bar? I would really appreciate those type of details. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. That's a great question. So I will have a warming kitchen in my space. So I will be hiring third-party caterers. Per event that I have, I will have a pre-approved list of caterers. So caterers that I have vetted myself to make sure that all of my customers coming in are only using caterers and vendors that have been pre-approved and vetted. In regard to the drink packages, like I said, so I have events that could be bought in bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s. So it's kind of about micromanaging each event that I have. So my bar packages will also reflect the different types of events that I'm holding.
And so a bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah, wedding, all of these are dinners, right? These are meals generally. But the even the cocktail parties will have food generally. That will be part of the package. Is that correct? Isabel?
Yes, that's correct.
And one of the things that I talk about with all of my clients, whether they are getting their first liquor license or their 10th, is things they know already, which is you can't serve people underage. You can't overserve. These things are real and present concerns. The state liquor authority keeps a watchful eye on that for a reason because there are safety concerns. And so that, we've discussed that. We will continue to discuss it.
Thank you so much. And then your long-term plan is for this to become an established catering and event hall, or do you have long-term plans to convert to a cabaret space?
No, no,
Or
no.
a bar tavern, depending on your occupancy.
No, long-term plan, this will stay an event and banquet hall exclusively.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions from the board or any community members?
I have one quick comment, Cynthia.
Go ahead, Pat.
I just wanted to thank you because that is something that is really needed in Sunset Park, a banquet space. When you think about you have Liberty that's over in Red Hook, and there's really not anything like what you want to do in Sunset. So thank you so much and all the best to you on this.
Thank you so much. That's really great to hear.
You're very welcome.
To Pat's point, I also hope that the price points are not like, some of the spaces we see in Williamsburg that, the community, a lot of them can't use it for Sweet 16 because it's not affordable for them to use it. So I do hope that in your business plan, you do take different price points into consideration. Obviously, you are there to make money. But in the community we live, has been lacking. There are, if we want to have a banquet space, we have to go far and few in between, or go to Bay Ridge or go to Red Hook, those types of spaces, especially raw warehouse space like this with a rooftop. And sometimes it's not accessible to the very people that live in the community. So I am hoping that is something that you consider when you are doing your price points and your packages.
Yes, definitely. It's a big concern, and keeping my prices low is very important to me.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions? Okay, I don't see, Sam, is your hand still up or that was from before?
No, just want a friendly reminder with regard to the security plan.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand that the plan is not to host all these. It's more to go to the way of by way of banquets and so on. Uh, but all it takes is one not good third party hosted event for something bad to happen. And I think unless you have a large base of clients just starting out in the business, I would think that you're probably going to rely in the beginning on third party hosted events. So I would just ask that you please consider the security aspect. And thank you once again.
I had sent a business plan which I think addresses security in an email, but we can also send an exclusive security plan to sometime this week if that's
That
helpful.
would be great. Thank you.
That would be great, so I could share it with the board. We have our upcoming meeting on the 17th where we discuss it in full. I personally don't have any further questions, and I don't see any reason not to move you forward through the process. As you know, we have a full board meeting on the 17th where it will be officially voted on. The committee cannot vote on it, but pending getting the documents, I don't see why we wouldn't put forth for the board to vote in favor of moving forward with it unless there's any objections from any of my committee members.
Cynthia, I just want to remind our attendees that they could also raise their hands
Okay,
if
yes.
they would like to speak on this. And I just also want to say to Sam Sierra, it kind of freaks me out to see you standing behind yourself.
uh,
I'm sorry, let me
hands,
just
right?
ask, are we expected to attend the full board meeting? I haven't appeared before this committee in many years.
I would suggest you do in case there
Okay,
are any questions. It
sure.
is on Wednesday. It will be in person. In case they have any questions that we may not be able to answer, it is strongly suggested that you do attend on the 17th. In case there's any follow-up questions from the full board. But as a committee, while I can't officially move it forward today, I think that based on what we've heard and the security, it doesn't seem like this would be that many third party promotion things, and it seems more like a catering banquet that seems to be will be run responsibly, pending the security and the business details that we will send to the committee for their review before the meeting. And of course, as you get closer, we would love to get updates. As you know, as you get closer to a timeline, this is when we're going to open, and be invited, maybe perhaps even to see the space before it officially opens would be great.
Of course, 100%.
And I think Gladys has her hands up. Gladys?
Hey, hi everyone. Thank you, Isabella and Micah, for your presentation. Like Pat says, this is a great thing to have in our community. And I was just wondering, do you have a name for your banquet hall yet?
Yes, the name is Maison Isabella's.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Hey, great. So if there's nothing further, thank you both for joining us here this evening, and we will see you next week.
Very good. Nice to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for that robust conversation. Next, we have two very important topics to discuss. The next one, we're going to welcome Ralph Cini. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, from FDNY, who's going to just share with us some safety. And then from there, we'll go to Officer Lopez. Welcome. From NYPD, to share some information on the domestic violence. So FD and Smart, they have come many times for us. We had a CPR with them in person, which we hope to do again in the spring. But this is the time of year, unfortunately, where there's a lot of accidental fires and things that happen. We're all excited to put up Christmas stuff. There have been some incidents in the community with e-bikes and those fires. So just Ralph will be joining us and giving us some tips, especially for the holiday. And I know they have some great literature that we'll share if we were in person, but we'll make sure we share it at the full board. Thank you again, Ralph, and it's on you.
Thank you for having me. Does everybody hear me okay? All right, thank you. It's just been a while since I've been on Zoom, so I just want to make sure. Thank everybody for having me. If you have any questions while I'm just going through my presentation, or just and want more detail, just let me know. I just want to be respectful to the other speakers and give them an opportunity to speak as well. So one of the most important devices we have in our homes is going to be working smoke detectors. So with that, we actually have a great program through FDNY Smart.org, where we actually install smoke detectors in all the 5 boroughs of everybody's homes. It's absolutely free. All you need to do is go on the website and on fdny.smart.org to sign up for them. And if you live in an apartment building or in a house, we'll install as many smoke detectors as you need. Those smoke detectors also be in combination, so they do CO and smoke, and you would have a retired fireman installing those smoke detectors for you. Just like you said earlier, the holiday season is usually, the time where we might encounter a lot more fires, but I like to think it's usually spread out. One of the other most important things we can do is invest in having a fire extinguisher. I always tell people it's a good idea to have it. You never know when you're going to need it. That literature is also on the website as well. It just explains on how to use the fire extinguisher, because a lot of people haven't had experience using it. Me being a fireman, I've seen people try to use it and it just hasn't worked out. But we have a little acronym called PASS, PASS, and that should just help you show you how to use it properly. And just knowing when, let's say, your smoke detector is expired, or let's say your smoke detector is because they're pressurized. So sometimes they do lose pressure, because most of the time you see smoke detectors, they're hung up, because if they're rolling on the floor or anything like that, they lose pressure. And just to touch the subject of the smoke detectors. They usually have a shelf life of about 10 to 15 years. The smoke detectors we're gonna get that we provide for you, they're the newest smoke detectors, and they have an internal battery. So you won't be able, like when we used to say change your clocks, you change your smoke detector. With those new smoke detectors, after every 10 years, you can throw out the smoke detector and replace it with a brand new one. And we just asked, it's the same standard time, but you have to check your smoke detector every month to make sure that it's working properly. I saw a hand raised. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the smoke detectors. I know it's the combination, and I think you answered partially of it because the batteries stay, right? It's like I got the ones that you have that you mentioned because I had FDNY install them. So they don't have the batteries don't get changed, right? Like a 10-year life it's supposed to be.
Yes, that's
Like you
correct.
said,
So
they just test it every month, right? We should
yeah,
test it every month.
yeah, every month you're just supposed to test it, and just that's you just pushing the button, and just it'll go through a self cycle, and you'll be able to test it to ensure that it works properly.
So in an average home, I know like maybe do you have like, let's say a 1 bedroom apartment, right? Or maybe a 2 bedroom apartment, do you put one in the kitchen in your bedroom in terms of location? When you guys come, do you like look at the home and say this is the best place to place it and the reason why that's a good place to have it in? Because I know when they came, I had one in the basement near the boiler and they're like, no, it's better in the hallway
Mhm.
leading up to the basement. And they gave me the reasons, all the reasons why. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, so a lot of times you want to put it, you obviously want to put it up onto the ceiling. I know some people try to install into the wall because they may not be able to reach the ceiling, but
Mhm.
you want to have it high up. You don't want to have it directly underneath your stove or your boiler because when it produces like CO or anything like that, it's gonna ring. So you want to give yourself a little bit of leeway of room where it'll be effective, but it won't ring for, let's say, like just like something going off, like when you're cooking and it's right underneath the stove. That's not the best place for it because it'll just go off every time you cook.
Okay. And in terms of the fire extinguisher, where is like the best way to best place to keep it?
I recommend you keep it somewhere you can get to it. A lot of times people leave it underneath the sink, but when you leave it underneath the sink, it's closer to the stove. So if you do have a fire, it might be difficult to reach. I like to say like maybe in like the hallway or a closet, I can easily get to. When you're using a fire extinguisher, you never you want to make sure like if things don't pan out well, you're able to leave, so escape to get out of your house. You don't want to put yourself in between the fire and the fire extinguisher.
Okay. And what is the shelf life of a normal fire extinguisher?
I said it could be 10 to 15, but like there's when you look at the fire extinguisher, like I said previously, they're pressurized. So they'll still work if the dial moves, but you're losing pressure. So the chemicals that are in the fire extinguisher to suppress the fire, they're the fact that they're under pressure helps them put out a lot more fire. When you lose pressure, you're not able to do that.
Okay, and I know in terms of this is a totally different question. A lot of people now for the holidays, they hang up lights and they use different types of extension cords. So can you go over the safe extension cords to use and is it smart to
Yes.
like, rattle a lot of them together? And then the last one question I have is heaters. A lot of times people use space heaters in their home. So
Yeah.
if you could just go over a little bit about some rules for the space heater in the house.
Sure, no problem. I'd say I'd say 5 to 10 feet with space heaters. So you want to give yourself from anything that can burn. So anything combustible, you want to give yourself some leeway with that. And actually, they have these new space heaters that they have a little tab at the bottom. So when let's say they fall or they tip over, they automatically shut down. So a lot of cases we've been to plenty of fires where that wasn't the case, and they were a lot older models. So when they did fall on the floor, you were sleeping, and then you would possibly have a fire. Um, when it comes to extension cords, It's very important that we know that anything that heats or cools draws a lot of power. So it may not seem like it, but it really does. So you want to make sure you have the right equipment. So let's say heavy duty extension cords. You don't want to use any flimsy or thin extension cords. They'll say heavy duty on them when you purchase them, and you can get them from any hardware store. Um, you don't want to overload your outlets. So I know like Christmas trees, you have a lot of people have different things plugged into them. Like I said before, you don't want to mix that with anything that can heat or cool. So if you have a space heater connected to that and multiple other lights and things like that into extension cord, you don't want to do that. Extension cords, they're for temporary use. So we're just going to use them temporarily. We don't want to make those the permanent connections of anything like that.
What should be some things that should absolutely be plugged in like a wall? So I know like a refrigerator, for example, they always say plug that directly into the wall. So what are some things? So anything that heats or cools should be plugged
Yeah.
in or that takes up a lot of energy?
Yeah, so let's say we said refrigerator, AC units, microwaves generate a lot of heat, um, space heaters. You want to connect that directly into the wall because a lot of times they'll shut down. Like you have a breaker situation and they'll automatically shut down when they're connected into the wall when they're grounded. When you connect them into an outlet, sometimes it sparks the outlet or it would cause the outlet to burn, and instead of shutting down when it would be connected into the wall, it just continues to burn the outlet.
Thank you. Do any of the board members have any questions for Ralph? Or any comments? Talisha, found the link for requesting the detectors in a quick Google search. Thank you for the service. I changed batteries the other day. Thank you, Talisha, for that comment. There was copper buildup on the batteries, she said. So
Okay. So, if I have time to go into just the electrical
yes, of course.
e-bikes.
Yes, please.
So, just with that, a lot of we know like it's holiday season, a lot of people are using them to get around or do deliveries. I like to tell people like every time you test your smoke detector, you want to make sure like you have to know where you live. So, if you live in a fireproof, non-fireproof building, um, kids go to school and they do fire drills. We need to, when we go home, we have to be able to do fire drills and know how to get out and know what kind of building we live in so that we can formulate a plan because a lot of times things are a lot less scary when we do have a plan. And just having like, especially if we have kids, having a meeting place, a place to meet up, so that's huge. So every month you test your smoke detector, you should just go through a plan. And just to go get into the e-bikes, um, you want to make sure that you use the dedicated cable they come with, and you don't want to overcharge them. So you don't want to go to bed and leave an e-bike charged. Just like a lot of times when your phone, you notice when you have a brand new phone, the battery lasts forever and you have no issues. And then later on, you're leaving the phone charged overnight and it doesn't seem to hold a charge. Those e-bikes are sort of on a larger scale have that issue. When you charge them overnight, it displaces the battery. It's getting too much power. When you use inferior cables, it messes with the batteries. And you're talking about millions of small cells that can possibly spark up. And when we do have e-bike fires, they're not easy fires to put out. I know there's been a lot of communication about devices that you can use to insulate the battery once it's on fire. None of those, from my knowledge, from what I've heard, have been able to work. So when you're storing these e-bikes or charging them, you want to make sure that they're not blocking your exit. So you don't want to put them in a place where you have to go through the front door to get out and the e-bike is there charging right in front of you. You want to make sure that you're able to do that while you're up and you're not putting yourself in a hard spot. Yep.
And I know a lot of times people swap out the battery for the e-bike, so it should be a certified battery, not a third-party battery that you just,
Yes,
pick
correct.
up,
Because
correct?
yes, because a lot of times if you're using them and you're doing deliveries, you don't just buy one battery, you buy two or three, and if they're usually very expensive. So if you're charging one and then you're running the other one, you don't want to use like off branded batteries because then that's how you get into a situation where you can spark a fire.
Okay, I think Joan had her hand up, and then I have a question. Joan?
It was regarding the e-bikes and he answered them. Thanks.
Okay,
No problem.
perfect. I have a question. What is the law regarding the self-closing door for folks? So what is the regulation, the door that closes behind you? I know a lot of people when they run out the door, it's a fire. You run out the door, and I know a lot of times I've saw in the news the fire spread because someone left the door open.
So yeah, most of the time, like when we talk about fire safety, we want to make sure that people close the door as they leave. So the doors in your homes are supposed to be able to close. But if you're in let's say apartment building, you want to make sure they have self-closing doors as well. And you want to make sure that a lot of times those doors have been painted over in older buildings, so they're not able to self-close in case of a fire. So we want to make sure that the landlord and super helps maintain those and those exits, so that in the event of a fire, when you do leave your house, if your apartment, if let's say you're not able to close the door, but the door is supposed to swing out and close itself, but if not, you have self-closing doors in the hallway that are supposed to activate and limit the spread of the not only the fire but the smoke, because the smoke is what's gonna incapacitate people and not allow them to get to the exit safely.
Thank you. Joan?
Just a comment from experience. Do not lock your door if there's a fire in your home and you're evacuating. Close it, but don't lock it, because the fire department has to come in to make sure that the apartment is empty. So if you lock the door, they're going to break down the door.
And
That's a good point,
in
Joan.
most cases, we try not to, but we want to make sure that everybody's out of the building. So generally, we try to like knock or reach or have somebody reach out to the people in the street. But absolutely, you shouldn't. In the event of a fire, just want to make sure you get out as quickly as possible. And then once, like especially if you're home, we'll let you know when it's safe to go back. So there wouldn't be any need to lock your door, but just get out. Like I said before, if you have a safety plan, you have a plan, it makes things a lot better and a lot easier. So that when you get out safely, if anybody, we normally try to ask is, hey, do you know who's in apartment 7G or anything like that, and we'll try to reach out to people to see if we can get them, so we don't unfortunately have to do that.
Yeah, that's a very good plan, have that fire drill plan. Also, before you leave, can you tell us a little bit about FDNY Smart for those of us here who are not familiar with that unit of the fire department and what it is that FDNY Smart does? I know you already mentioned one of the services you provide is free smoke alarms, but I know there's a couple of other things that you also do that's 100% free for the community.
Yeah, sure. So the unit is the fire safety education unit. And with that, we go to different organizations like the community board. We reach out to churches, schools, and we just like try to let everybody know about fire safety, things they can do in their home to be a lot safer. The website also has a lot of good information in terms of um, if you actually need us to go to like a church or need us to go to a school and do a presentation so that we can get more involved with the community, because we want to make sure that everybody's safe. There's a lot of good resources in terms of how to prevent these fires. So, and we also support several different languages, so like English, French, um, Creole, and we have, like I said, several different languages, and the main goal is to just limit as many fires as possible and eliminate as many fire deaths as possible. So if you need us or need and us to give a presentation from the fire safety education unit, we're able to do that for you.
And I know, Jerry, was it 2 years ago we did the CPR class? The
Oh,
non-certificate CPR class? Is that
It,
something
it was it was
offered?
around there, but it was not it wasn't certified. It was just
Yeah, the
a
non-certified class. Is that
yeah.
something that you still offer, Ralph? Because I would love to do that again with the community.
yes, but it's not done through the fire safety education unit. It's done through EMS. So
Right.
we partner with EMS on a lot of these events. So we would be a joint task force through EMS as well. So we'll both usually go to like block parties. We go to different events. Anywhere we're invited to just help provide the community with like resources like CPR and fire safety.
I think it was it was very well attended when we did it, and it gave people a lot of information on just emergency quick things that they knew for emergencies besides the fire safety.
Yeah,
Tanya Sanchez is here. We could work through her to get whoever we need to present to us.
Great. Thank you for that, Jeremy, because I think that's definitely something we would love to see in the spring when the weather gets a little bit warmer.
yeah, absolutely. Just like I said, you can if you should be able to reach out to them, if not us, and I think they'll transfer you over. So like I said, we usually work in tandem with them so that we can get like the best out of like any community event, especially like the warm weather when everybody's doing block parties and things like that. It's a great time to be out and just showing everybody how to do CPR, be familiar with it, and just having a plan.
That is great. Are there any other questions from the community board members or any of the attendees? No, if not, Ralph, we would like to thank you so much, first of all, for your service to New York City as a fire department and the fire department, and for the valuable information you gave us today. In particular, we are going to certainly spread the word about the smoke and CO alarm. They're very costly. For people who don't know, they average about $100. So the fact that they are being installed free and you get the consultation, it's a wonderful service to take advantage of so that everybody does have working smoke and CO alarms. A lot of times we see fires in the news started because the fire alarm did not work and something occurred. So you may have old ones, like Talisha said, she checked hers and saw some copper buildup. You could get these installed absolutely free. They're pretty quick. When I did mine, my appointment was scheduled within about a month. About 4 weeks out they had at that time, and I did mine sometime like 2 years ago. So it is well worth it. And the tips they gave us regarding the lighting, the e-bikes in particular, this is a community that does use a lot of e-bikes. So those things are very important. And unfortunately, we did have a couple of fires in the community that were caused by the e-bikes. So hearing that is really important. And the heaters was especially important to hear from us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me, and I'm also a member of the community, so I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. So
Great. Thank you, Ralph. We hope to see you soon and hope to see you in person next time.
no problem. I hope to see you all as well. Happy holidays if I don't see
Happy
you.
holidays to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have our final speaker for the evening. And thank you, Kalina, for suggesting this topic. So we have with us from the 72nd Precinct to talk to us about the domestic violence unit that they have at the precinct and some of the things that they've done to keep our community safe and just really informed about what domestic violence is and the numerous resources offered by the 72nd Precinct for those who are victims of domestic violence. Officer Lopez, welcome.
Hi, welcome. I'm Officer Lopez with the 72nd Precinct. We're located at 830 4th Avenue. I'm the 7-2 domestic violence liaison. So I created a little PowerPoint because I was prepared to, speak in person. So I had created my little own pamphlet and everything.
I think you could, if you have it, do you have it on the computer? Because you could share it. Yeah,
Okay,
you could have you share screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Jeremy, can we have her access to share her PowerPoint?
You can share your screen now.
Okay.
And then we would love to get a copy of it in electronically so we could share it with the full board, if possible, Officer Lopez.
Okay, thank you. Let me just figure this out. Wait. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
There we go. Okay. So domestic violence, right? Key points of domestic violence. What is domestic violence? The types of abuse, the warning signs to look for, feeling trapped in these relationships, and last but not least, NYPD role in domestic violence. Okay. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior used to gain power and control. You know, it occurs between intimate partners and family members. And it could include any type of a control, right? It includes from physical, emotional, sexual, financial abuse, and it could affect anybody, regardless of age, gender, or background. Types of abuse. What kind of abuse are we talking about? Physical, you know, hitting, pushing, choking. We also have emotional, you know, threats, humiliation, isolation. Financial, which means they control the money, you know, or they control your income, will hold your money, right? Digital monitoring of phones and online harassment, and sexual, which could be any non-consensual sexual contact. Warning signs, unexplained injuries, sudden changes in behaviors from, you know, from family isolation. You know, now you used to go to see your mom every weekend. Now you don't see your mom. You know, they stop you from certain behaviors. Where we have controlling behaviors and signs of financial dependency or restricted access to money. These are the warning signs. So now, why do we stay in this relationship? Why do we stay trapped? You know, if I could speak for myself, you know, a little private, you know, I was a survivor of domestic abuse in my first marriage, you know, and everything was, you know, humiliation, control, you know, treating me a certain way in front of the kids. So I made the decision, never reported or anything like that, because it didn't come up to anything physical. It was more psychological, right? So the day I decided to say, you know, enough is enough, is when my daughter said to my mom, I don't want my parents to fight anymore. That's when I said, you know what, I have to make a move. I have to make a decision, and then that's it. So when you guys asked me to talk about this, I could relate a little bit, you know, and I was happy to do these PowerPoints with the help of my coworker. But these are the reasons we stay trapped in this relationship. You know, we're hoping for a better outcome. We're hoping that, you know, things would change, you know, or fear of being alone. You know, once you reach a certain age, you don't want to be by yourself anymore. So you tolerate things. Things would change, things would not change, you know. You blame yourself, you know, because everything is your fault when you are in these type of relationships. You know, you feel hopeless. How do you find the way out? You know, he pays, I didn't work. Maybe, you know, I can't survive if he doesn't help me in my relationship. You know, how am I going to get by? How am I going to take care of my kids? You know, and it's just basically mostly the kids. You know, if you have children, this is why we always end up staying. How do NYPD roles help in domestic violence? Okay, so basically we provide safety and emergency assistance, right? We connect individuals of domestic violence, you know, with domestic violence officers. We have a whole unit dedicated to this. So we'll take a report. This report goes a long way. NYPD takes domestic violence really serious. So we take a report and we let them know. There's resources in the back of the paper. You know, it's called domestic incident report. It's a DIR, right? We basically, you know, let them know, hey, domestic violence officers are going to reach out to you. Give them about a day or two. They're going to reach out to you and come to your house and follow up to see what's going on. How can they help? We provide, you know, we collaborate with shelters and advocacy programs. So some of those are Safe Horizon. Safe Horizon is basically a program outside of the NYPD, but works closely with us, right? They're advocates. They'll help you with obtaining order protections. They'll help you basically if you were a victim of a crime and your locks got broken, how to replace those locks, how to find shelter. They will help you with all of that. And all of that is, located. If you go into the NYPD website, domestic violence, we have numbers, or you can even call our precinct ourselves. And, we will provide that with the number. Our phone number is 718-965-6310. We will be more than happy to help anybody or provide them with the resources that they need. And that is it. And do you guys have any questions?
Well, I do, and I also have a comment. First of all, thank you for sharing your very personal story with us. I know a lot of people can resonate. Either we know someone of domestic violence or have heard on the news horrific incidents of what domestic violence has turned into. And I'm just curious about some statistics in the 72nd precinct, if you have any to share with us regarding domestic violence incidents. I know there's an entire domestic violence unit, and I know it's something that's highly personal, so I'm not asking very specific details, but is this something that is happening often in the community, or the particular age groups? I'm an educator, so I worry a lot about our teen girls sometimes, and even our teen boys that may not realize they're in a domestic situation, because some of the things you described could be seen as love to some people, right? Well, that's how he shows me he loves me, or how she shows me she loves me. So what are some of the outreach that is done to, thank you for today's presentation, so that people could really see what are some of those things are? Because sometimes you don't realize you're in a domestic violence situation because, like you said, he's not hitting me, she's not hitting me, That's what domestic violence is. When you normally think about it, that's what most people assume. So that I was curious about that part.
So domestic violence is not only about physical, okay? It could be psychological, someone always putting you down and stuff like that. That's not a healthy relationship. When I mean a healthy relationship, we should never feel bad about ourselves being in a relationship or anything like that. So what I do, or, I have teen, older daughters now, I talk to them a lot. And basically, I always tell them how, a person should be treated, they should be loved and cared for, and once, you don't have none of that, you should really say something, because that's the problem that happens. If nobody speaks up, how can we help you? And we have a lot of that here. Most of our calls are usually third-party callers that, somebody hears somebody fighting, and that's how we end up going and finding out, oh yeah, this is going on. But, if no one accepts that something is going on and something is not right and healthy in the relationship, we really can't help.
Do you guys go to schools and do outreach to schools? I know I seen you at the senior center. And talking about senior domestic violence. How about the younger, the teenagers?
Well, when it comes to schools, that's usually our YCOs, our youth officers. I'm not sure what are their topics, but I could definitely, it's a great idea that we should bring up, especially to high schools. Once people are in, you already know the puppy love. You think you're in a serious relationship at that age, yeah. But it's definitely a great idea. I will bring it up to them, see if maybe we could go with them one day and let them know what that there's different types of use, and then they don't have to be in it, and we can help them out.
Yeah, because I know the Healing Center does a lot of work with the youth. They have the teen domestic violence walk too. So I know perhaps teaming up with you guys and doing something at our local high schools would be helpful. Because, sometimes I see them on the train and I don't know if they're playing, but, sometimes I see them super disrespectful to what they do. And Sam, that was a great point. I'll let so you could speak. But sometimes I see them on the train and they're so disrespectful sometimes to the young ladies. And, I get offended seeing it, So I don't even know if they comprehend or compute that, they're being called out disrespectfully, So
No,
I think that would be a great thing to do, maybe.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And, it's a great idea and we should speak. But what I realized, most of this, is learned behavior, the parents for it. So they think it's normal. My dad did it to my mom, or my dad, so it's a lot of this is, I notice, it's a pattern. It's a learned behavior. No one wakes up from the morning and just, starts insulting people out of nowhere. They see it and then they basically do it themselves.
Right. And involving the youth officers, like you said, involving the young men in things that they should also know too about being respectful. Because like you said, it is typically learned behavior. So I'm gonna do Kalina, Gladys, and then Sam.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Officer Lopez, for presenting. Cynthia, you make an excellent point. I didn't even think about school, but that's so true. Might be a little bit of a silly question, but is the domestic violence unit 24 hours?
Yes. So, well, basically, we're working 24 hours. We have different shifts, right? The domestic violence unit, they are here until about maybe 10 o'clock, but we'll take the report, right? The officer, handling the situation will take a report, and then it gets referred to them. So first thing in the morning when they do come in, they always know what are they dealing with. It could be something from just a simple dispute to an actual assault. So they're always aware of something's going on. Yeah.
Thank
How
you.
many officers are in that unit right now, Officer Lopez?
We have 4 officers.
4. Okay. Thank you. Maybe we could get their contact information so that we have them and we could share them with the community in case they need to reach out privately. I know sometimes people don't want to call, 911, but may want to share something privately. Gladys?
Yes, hi. Hi. Thank you, Officer Lopez, for this, for what you're showing us. I was gonna say the same thing about going to the schools, and that it's also, as a young person, you think this is what you learn. So sometimes it is something, most of the time it's something you learn, and then sometimes it's even harder to unlearn it, because I grew up in a domestic violence home as a very young girl, and I seen a lot. So that it affected me in a way of what I'm not going to accept from anyone, and not let no one abuse me, which in a way has its bad side too, because then you don't believe everyone, even if they're trying to be nice to you. So it has its different forms of, messing you up, kind of, for lack of a better word. But it's something that we need to learn when we're younger, because then that if you don't and you stay within that same situation, you're going to carry that through your whole life. And that's why bringing it to the schools at a young age is more beneficial, to do it that way. So, like Cynthia says, I've seen it in the train too, and you don't know. I want to like get up and get involved, but then, like she said, you don't know they're kidding around, but which I don't think anyone should play that way. My mom used to say, if you play like that, hitting each other is gonna be real. You're gonna wind up hitting each other for real. So, that's why it's important to teach this to our youth when they're young, even as little girls, because I remember way back I was very young, and I could remember almost every incident, and I'm already in my 60s. So, you carry this.
Thank you,
You do,
Gladys,
you
for sharing
definitely
that.
do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we have Safe Horizons, which they could also connect you to counseling services. Like if you need counseling to talk to somebody, they could do that for you. So Safe Horizon is a really good program that basically connects you to where all the resources that you need
That's
or
good.
you might need. So if anyone ever needs, you could come to the 72nd precinct. You could look for myself, or you could look for the domestic violence officers, and we will be more than happy to provide those numbers, services, and resources.
And do you have like a one pager, Officer Lopez, with the information? Like I know I seen you flyer outside sometimes. Maybe we could get
Not
that.
this one, but I could definitely email it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could
Okay.
email it to us, because then we could share it and we could also print some out and put out at the community board. Sam, I think you had a point about that, and then of course Jeremy.
Sure. Thank you so much. And thank you, Officer Lopez, for your presentation. I also appreciate the fact that they take the educational aspect of your program to the young students at school. Um, Along those same lines, I was wondering if this is done or not. Maybe it could be. As you know, or aware perhaps, we have a couple of shelters in our community. And I was wondering if this is that we'd be able to have this educational aspect shared with them. Um, I think in doing so, we have, let us say, an opportunity there to break the cycle because along with the victims of the domestic violence, and which they're also victims, they have their impressionable children. And I think in that setting, educational an education with regard to the domestic violence, I think it would be very, very valuable. So I just wanted to share that point with you, and thank you once again.
No, I appreciate it. Like all ideas are welcome, and I will definitely bring it up to our captain, Captain Yasin, and let him know that this is something the community would like, for us to attend to schools and the younger generation as well as the shelters, to see how we can help and prevent it before it actually happens.
Yeah, I feel we have an opportunity to break the cycle, and if it's
Of
there, we
course.
should seize it. And thanks again.
You're welcome.
Jeremy?
So we often talk about specific populations. We often think about physical aspects of domestic violence, but there are a couple of populations I'd like to talk about that aren't necessarily talked about much when it comes to domestic violence, and that's senior citizens and people with developmental disabilities.
Yeah.
Often it's not violence against them, but it's threats of violence, it's other types of threats. Often there's some sort of financial reason for people doing that. Could you talk a little bit about those populations and what we should be on the lookout for when it comes
So
to domestic violence with those populations?
sure. So basically, we do have elder abuse, right? We have situations where um, our elders, they aren't able to make certain decisions. So then the kids, or family members and stuff like that, they'll make all the financial decisions for them. That is a type of abuse. That is a type of domestic violence. And we always try to recommend, but like I said, if no one says anything, we can't really help. It's always like a third person who, sees saying, this is not right. Let me call somebody. And that's how we end up getting involved. It's a really hard topic because, if no one reports it, we really can't help. But we try once we get it, we try and we try to follow up with them. If there's an arrest to be made, arrest is made. That's what we try to do as best as we can.
I have a question to Jeremy's point. So let's say I report something, but then you go ask me, and I'm a senior and I may have dementia, for example, or Alzheimer's, or I may be developmentally delayed. I'm not aware, and you ask me, and I say, oh, no, no, the person's not abusing me. It's not. You always heard, or, I don't know if it's still true, that if the person who's being abused doesn't press the charges, it gets dropped. Is that true? Or does the person have to be like saying, yes, that's happening to me? Like, how much should that person be? Because like Jeremy makes a very valid point. A lot of time our seniors may have dementia or Alzheimer's, or if I have a developmental delay, I may not realize, or I may deny it. I may say, no, it's not happening to me
Cynthia,
because I may forget.
if I could add to that, often it's the same people who might have power of attorney or
Exactly.
uh, make medical decisions for them.
Exactly, and withhold them going to the doctor. So I'm wondering, like, if you get a third party reporting, right? And I don't know if you know the answer to this. I know it has to go to the district attorney and all that other stuff. Um, is that still something that you could pursue if that person doesn't have the capacity to confirm it's happening to them?
So basically, that will be more the domestic violence officers that will investigate. So they
Okay.
will do I'm gonna talk about like a thorough investigation. They will look at your mental health, medication, stuff like that. Speak to other people, like especially to the third party. Okay, what's going on? And they will take your claim serious, and they will do their investigation and then present it. If there is like a case to be done, that's when arrests are made. But they are the ones who are basically taking the extra step and
So,
pursuing and looking for more information to it.
so they'll talk to doctors and other people. They'll
Yes,
pursue
if they
it.
have to, yes.
Okay, Gladys?
Yeah, I wanted to say, being that you don't know about any domestic violence issues that go on unless someone calls, do you have like every like quarterly forums just to speak on it to to different groups? and bring that awareness out like that. And I wanted to also add, that not only women are domestically abused, men are also
Mm-hmm.
go into that issue too. But having forums just to putting that awareness out that in case someone is going through that, they might get brave enough to want to call themselves because they know because of that forum that you had gave them that information instead of waiting for someone to either get killed or just keep living that life. That is very hard to get away because we used to always I used to ask my mother, why are you still here? And she was always saying, because of you or because of you, because of the kids. And I used to always think that was so crazy to me. But and unfortunately she never got out. My father passed, but it was a lot of years of all that. So having forums, I think, will give someone that opportunity to not wait for a tragedy to happen, and they'll make the calls themselves and not wait for someone to call you that something happened.
So I know sometimes the domestic violence unit will go out into the community and share flyers and their services. But I could definitely speak to them and see if we could extend it more. Go out to, like he said, go out to shelters, go out to schools. Make it more like big instead of just one spot or once a month or we're going to try to work on it and try to get out there as much as possible.
I think even
Thank you.
just papering the flyers that you have, right? Like in restaurants, if they let you in, like the community board, definitely you could put paper in doctor's offices. I know at NYU in the hospital in the women's bathroom, they actually I don't know if the flyer is still there, Sammy and Gladys. Haven't been there in a minute. They had a flyer in the women's bathroom that said, that signs of domestic abuse, right? And it had information like number you could call. And I know a lot of people do this stuff during the domestic violence month, but I think to Gladys's point and Sammy and Jeremy and everybody and Kalina's point, to do this more regularly so that it's visible. Like, I walk on Fifth Avenue, I may see a sign for an empty apartment, but also let's see a flyer up speaking to the Fifth Avenue bid about stores that may be willing to put a flyer up in their bathroom if they're a restaurant or something, that people go because they'll read it in the different languages, especially Spanish, Chinese, and English. I know Jerry could, maybe some of the businesses could speak about that, having, even just flyering, having the flyer up with the information is a way of giving people the knowledge, because a lot of people don't know, to Gladys's point, they don't know how to get out. They think this is the norm,
Yeah, that's definitely a great idea. And like I said, I will bring it up to the CO and to the domestic violence unit to see if we could get out there to more businesses. Like you said, that I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, because I do see you with the table. I seen you in front of the park when the weather's warm. I seen you walk up and down 8th Avenue and 5th Avenue and talk to people individually. But I think, that's another way of doing it for sure.
Perfect. I will definitely bring it up to them.
Well,
Thank you.
are there any other comments or questions? No? Well, Officer Lopez, thank you so much, one, for sharing your personal story, and Gladys, you as well. I know when it's a personalized thing, it resonates more and also brings a little bit more passion into what it is that you do, because you could empathize and be in somebody else's shoes. And also for giving us the information and all the work you have done in the community to spread information. We hope to partner with you to communicate with our community so that they are aware of these resources that are available to them. I know I could think of a dozen restaurants and businesses that would gladly put up the flyer that gives this information out. So I do hope that we could partner on that. I look forward to getting some literature from you so that we could share it with our community board members at large at our next meeting. That will be next week, so that we could have that information. And particularly looking out for groups that are particularly vulnerable, like were mentioned today, those people that are already in shelters, our children that are in schools, our seniors, and those that have developmental delays that may not even be aware that they're being in this situation. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.
So if there's no other business, thank you to the committee members and to our wonderful speakers today for joining us. We had quite a informational session, both from FDNY and NYPD. I wish everybody a safe, warm night. Officer Lopez, stay safe out there. Everyone else, stay warm and safe. And I hope to see all of you next week. As a reminder, our holiday party will take place immediately after. So please make sure you join. So you join in the festivities. It's a way of thanking our you guys, and there'll be some great food and some holiday cheer for all.
Appreciate it. Have a good
Thank
night, everyone.
you.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night,
Stay
everyone.
safe.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.